Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you do not miss any video lesson from RAU'S IAS.
Hello and welcome to Daily Prelims Practice, where we take up the questions from the Hindu and Indian Express and curate them as per the demands of Civil Services Prelims examination. The questions for the discussion are listed on your screen.
So moving on to the first question of the day, it basically talks about the capital expenditure which has been done by large infrastructure ministries. Now UPSC in the previous years has asked questions related to gross domestic product, capital expenditure and how their patterns have changed over time, and such a question was also seen in 2015. So this area becomes important for us. The practice question says, with respect to gross capital formation, consider the following statement. The first statement here is the gross capital formation in the Indian economy has declined in the last decade. Now this statement is correct. The second statement says the share of public investment in gross capital formation is much higher than private investment. Now this statement is wrong. To understand the explanation for this question, we have to see this infographic. The infographic analyzes the trends in gross capital formation. Gross capital formation basically has three components, that is gross fixed capital formation, change in stocks and valuables. Now as we can see that the GCF has decreased from 40% to 31%. That is, the GCF in 2010-11 was 40%, which has now decreased to 31% in 2019-20. So in a decade, there has been a decline in gross capital formation, which was the first statement of the question. Further, if we see the gross fixed capital formation carefully, we can see the private investment with regard to public investment. And we can clearly see that private investment is much higher when compared to the public investment when it comes to gross fixed capital formation. So this was our statement 2. Coming back to the question, it further says which among the following statement given above is or are correct, and the correct code will be statement A, that is only statement 1 is correct. Moving on to the next article that has featured in Indian Express, it basically talks about the regulators related to pharma industries, that is CDSCO. Now UPSC previously has also asked questions related to various regulatory bodies, and such a question was seen in the year 2018. So this area becomes important for us. The practice question says, which of the following can be said to be the major functions of Central Drugs and Standard Control Organization, that is CDSCO. The first statement is approving new drugs and clinical trials, which is a correct statement. Import, registration and licensing of drugs, which again is correct. Banning unapproved drugs and cosmetics, this is also a correct statement. And the fourth statement is oversight and market surveillance of drugs, which is again a correct statement. Apart from this, CDSCO is also responsible for testing of new drugs, grant of test license, personal license, no objection certificates for exports, license approval of blood banks, vaccines, rDNA products and some medical devices, import registration and licensing, etc. The question further says, select the correct answer using the code given below, and the correct code for the given question will be option D, that is all the statements are correct. Moving on to the next article that has featured in Indian Express, it basically talks about the visit of Home Minister to the Kamakhya Temple in Guwahati. Now UPSC previously has asked question under the art and culture sections related to various temples, and such a question was also seen in the year 2017. A question in this regard can be framed related to various Shakti Peethas in India. The practice question says, consider the following pairs with reference to Shakti Peethas in India. The first is Kamakhya matched with West Bengal. Now this pair is wrong, as Kamakhya is located in the state of Assam. The second pair is Shakambari of Uttar Pradesh, which is correct. And the third pair is Kamakshi Amman Temple of Tamil Nadu, which again is, and the correct code for the given question will be option B, that is statement 2 and 3 are correct only. Going a little deeper about the Kamakhya Temple that is located in the state of Assam, it is considered as the most sacred and oldest of the 51 Shakti Pithas on earth. It is the center for powerful Tantric Shaktism cult in India. Basically, Shakti Pithas are the old temples of goddess where it is believed that the 51 body parts of goddess Sati fell on the earth. About the Kamakhya Temple, the origin of temple is not known. However, the Koch king Biswa Singha has rebuilt the temple in around 1553 and 1554. Apart from this, some of the great religious texts like Shiv Purana, Devi Bhagavata, Kalika Purana, the Ashtashakti also recognize 4 major Shakti Pithas. The first is Bimla Temple, which is located in Jagannath Puri, Odisha. Tara Tarini, which is located in Odisha again. Kamakhya Temple, which is located in Guwahati, Assam. And Kalighat Kali Temple, located in Kolkata, West Bengal. They collectively represent different body part or khandas of the Mata Sati. Moving on to the next article that has featured in the Indian Express talks about the resignation of Off Minister over the Ambedkar's 24 vows. The article also tells us about why Ambedkar left Hinduism. Now UPSC in the previous years under the history section has asked questions related to various important personalities, and such a question was also seen in the year 2020 where about the General Vittal Vidvansak was asked about. Now a practice question in this regard can be framed, and it says consider the following statements regarding B.R. Ambedkar. The first statement here is he was the founder of Independent Labour Party. Now this statement is correct as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the founder of Independent Labour Party, which was later called as the Scheduled Caste Federation. The second statement says he believed India was a nation prior to the beginning of imperial rule. Now this statement is wrong as it was Gandhi who mentioned under the Hind Swaraj that India has always been a nation prior to the beginning of imperial rule. But Ambedkar on the other hand believed in the notion that Indian unity was the byproduct of the legal system that was introduced by the imperial state, that is the British Raj. The third statement here says Mukhnayak, Prabhuda Bharata are the magazines associated with him, that is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and this statement is also correct as magazines like Mukhnayak, Bahishkrit Bharat, Prabhuda Bharata, which later came to be known as Awaken India, were associated with Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The fourth statement here says he considered untouchables as religious minority under Hindu religion. Now this statement is again wrong. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar though concluded that untouchables are religious minority, but he also concluded that they are not a part of Hindi community and preferred to call them as political minority or minority by force. The question further says choose the correct code, and the correct code for the given question will be option D, that is only statement 1 and 3 are correct. Moving to the next article that has featured in the Hindu, it basically talks about the direct tax receipts that has crossed the half mark target. Now UPSC in the previous years under the economic section has asked questions related to tax revenue, fiscal policy and the taxation policy of the government, and such a question was also seen in the year 2015. So the area related to taxation becomes important for us. The practice question says arrange the following taxes in the descending order of their contribution to the gross tax revenue of center in 2021-22. The first here is corporate tax, the second is income tax, and the third is union excise duties. Now the question has asked about the descending order, and so the correct code for the given question will be option A, that is 1, 2 and 3. To answer this question, we have to understand this infographic. This infographic talks about the actual budget and revised estimate of 2021 and 22. Now as we know, to conclude on the gross tax revenue, we have to look at the revised estimates. And by looking at the revised estimate for the 2021-22, it is very clear that the corporate tax had the highest contribution, followed by income tax, and that followed by union excise duties. Coming back to the question has asked about the descending order of the contribution to the gross tax revenue, and the correct code we have identified as 1, 2 and 3. Moving to the last question of the day, the news had featured on the Hindu and talks about the Malabar exercise that is about to happen in the next month of November. Now, a practice question in this regard can be framed with respect to various multilateral and bilateral exercises. Now, the practice question says, consider the following pairs. Malabar paired with quad. Now, this pair is correct as Malabar is now a comprehensive exercise which involves coordinations, that is United States of America, India, Japan and Australia. The second pair given here is Al-Nagha, which is a bilateral exercise between India and UAE. Now this pair is wrong as Al-Nagha is a bilateral exercise between India and Oman. The third pair given here is Cobra Gold and paired with India and Thailand. Now this pair is again wrong as Cobra Gold is a multilateral exercise and involves the nations of Asian region. The fourth pair given here is hand in hand, which is matched with India and Nepal. Now this statement is again wrong as hand in hand is a bilateral exercise between India and China. The question further says choose the correct code, and as only one pair is correct, the correct code for the given question will be option A.
So these were the questions for the day. Stay tuned for more such updates.